Like, how can you support the Olympics and all the backlash? And I don't know, did y'all feel any of that?
Lecrae sat down with Olympian Daniel Roberts to discuss the ceremony at the Olympics and what it means to follow Christ as an athlete.
It's not like a...
That's what I was going to ask. How does that weave into... Like, you didn't leave the Bible at home. I'm just wondering, like, how does that weave into your sport? Like, for me in music, it's like obvious because I'm rapping about my faith. But for you as an athlete, like, what makes you distinct as a Christian? Like, what's the difference between you and somebody who may not be a Christian? Like, what do you think is more distinct about you because you are a Christian athlete?
Damn, that's a good question. I mean, when I think about it, it's not, I don't think about it as in like I'm trying to weave my faith into my sport. I think of it as in like my faith and my relationship with God is who I am. But I'm just also a professional athlete.
Okay.
This is a good question and a great response by Daniel. Being a Christian isn't just something you do on the side or just another side to who you are as a person. Being a follower of Christ should permeate every aspect of your life. Some Christians get caught up trying to compartmentalize their faith. When they are with their Christian friends, they are one way, but when they are with their non-Christian friends, they're another. This isn't healthy, and it's exhausting. When Jesus comes into your life and the Holy Spirit takes hold of you, there's a transformation that takes place. This isn't immediate. It doesn't happen right away. Sanctification is a process, yet we start seeing changes, right? Changes start to take place. They're noticeable by you, noticeable by others. A few years ago, Lecrae took some heat for saying that he was not a Christian rapper, but that he was a rapper who is a Christian. It's interesting to hear Daniel say that he is a Christian who is also an athlete. I think the order is important because it can reveal where your identity ultimately lies. Are you a fill in the blank first, or are you a follower of Christ first? Is your identity in Jesus or somewhere else?
And that's just the way I live my life, and that's the way I interact with people, and that it just comes off that way. Honestly, I sometimes have like a battle in my mind of I almost try too hard not to be overly Christian, to where sometimes I feel like I'm not saying what I should say, or like standing up the way I should stand up about certain things. But yeah, that's just me.
But so I like that though, because that I've experienced that too, especially like in mainstream spaces where
this is real. And let's be honest, this can be tough. We should always stand for what we believe, but that doesn't mean we always will, or that it's going to be easy. Jesus tells us in Matthew 10, verses 32 and 33. So everyone who acknowledges me before men, I also will acknowledge before my Father who is in heaven. But whoever denies me before men, I also will deny before my Father who is in heaven. This is sobering and something that we would be wise to reflect on. I think the idea here is more to do with someone who is in a pattern of not acknowledging the Lord and doing so without repenting. We know that Peter denied Jesus 3 times because he feared for his life, and yet he was restored. It's a hard line to walk at times and difficult to balance, right? Being outspoken for Christ, but not beating somebody up with the scriptures, right? I think a good gauge is finding out where the person is in their life. 1 Corinthians 5, verses 12 through 13. But what have I to do with judging outsiders? Is it not those inside the church whom you are to judge? God judges those outside.
But I'm gonna be here for you when you lose.
Yes, we can pray at the finish line.
That's just my philosophy. I could be wrong.
I got that. I might take that one.
I'm also curious too, man. So I was at the Olympics. I posted a lot, and a lot of people were disappointed in me because of the ceremony, and they were like, "How can you support the Olympics and all the backlash?" And I don't know, did y'all feel any of that?
Oh, 100%.
Really?
100%. The moment it happened, because we was in the opening ceremony, so obviously we didn't see that part until after, like, social media. It was just going crazy. I just saw so many things.
Yeah.
And there were some thoughts I was like, bro, like, what's going on? Like, what does this mean for me? Like, what does God want for me in this situation? Like, I don't know. I was not really contemplating, but just processing and thinking a lot of like, what does this even look like for me? The rest of this Olympics, like what am I supposed to do? But I think a lot of the other believers that I know and that were in that moment, I feel like they handled it the way they needed to. Like it wasn't necessarily we need to like fight back type of situation. We just need to be bold about our representation of why we are here.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. You're in this space to represent someone bigger.
Exactly.
And a lot of people don't realize too, because I was at the opening ceremony, it was really different. You didn't know everything that was going on because it's all on the I didn't
even see that. Like
I didn't either.
Said, okay, yeah.
So I was like, I didn't see that part. I'm so busy. I'm way over here on this boat.
Exactly.
And then there's another, what's happening? I don't know what's going on at the table. Yeah. And you know, but and then I think a lot of people were like, condemn the Olympics. And I think for me, I was like, you know, we were talking earlier about my guy, Chris Bates. For me, I knew so many believers in there. And I was like, why would you want to remove people? Like, don't participate in this. Why would you want to take people out of these spaces where they can be a light in a dark world? You know what I mean? And so.
Yeah. I mean, the whole Olympics thing was a debacle. I think some Christians got a little carried away trying to condemn Christians that were there for supporting this. This goes back to the verse I mentioned earlier. We are to judge those inside the church. God judges those outside. I respect Daniel's initial thought as to what does God want. I think this should be our default way of handling these kinds of situations where we find ourselves in the midst of darkness. Like, what does God want me to do? I agree with Lecrae's take here. As Christians, sometimes we have been too quick to remove ourselves from situations because they are becoming too sinful. We see this with the arts, but when we do that, it doesn't get better, it gets worse. And we send the wrong message to those in the church that are gifted in those areas. We communicate inadvertently the idea that your gifts can't glorify God, and that just isn't true. Now we've seen this. I say the arts because this is what we see it probably most prominent right now, right? You see it in music, you see it in painting, and in sculptures, and you know, just the arts as a whole, right? Performing arts, that kind of stuff. Because Christians have removed themselves, now they're trying to get back into it, and it's more difficult to break through.
He's teaching on the power of God in Philippians 3:14, which I know is a big verse for you. And he says, glove, lift up the Bible. And then he puts his hand in the glove and he picks up the Bible. And it's like, that's us. We're the glove. Like we're just a glove.
Exactly.
God don't need us. Yeah. But he decides to like fill us with his spirit and like, it's like God don't need you, but it's like, nah, but I'm going to use you right now. Exactly. I'm going to put you in this race. Yeah. And then show us the hardware, bro. Let's see the hardware. This, you know what I'm saying? It's like we're having this conversation right now because you want. Let me see how heavy that look. Heavy, bro.
You got some weight to it for sure,
it does.
man.
This is heavy.
Deceptive.
But like we're having this conversation now and listening to you share what God has done in and through you because of this moment.
Yeah.
So I like how this clip ends here. Right? We are the glove. God doesn't need us, yet he chooses to work in us and through us. That's a privilege when we are grateful. At the end of the day, we are here to try to bring others to Christ, right? To glorify his name and to help advance the kingdom. Thanks for tuning in. I'll catch you next time.